Are you ready for this week's Business Hot Seat? In five, four, three, two, one.
Come and meet Ali Ghafoor. He runs AMG Pest Management. It's a family-owned pest management business and located right here in Logan City, and actually highly endorsed by Councillor Theresa Lane, so he's got to be a good guy. G'day, Ali. How are you?
G'day, Coach Nick and Kerry. How are you going this fine evening?
Yeah, well, thanks. Hey, thanks for coming on the hot seat. We don't know a lot of pest people, so this should be interesting. I'd like to start just broadly. How do you get into the pest industry? How did you end up there?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an interest in bugs, I guess, first of all. And it's about not being scared of bugs and creepy crawlies. That helps. But obviously there is the professional aspect to it. There is a licensing regulation that goes on, and there's a professional course qualifications that you need to undertake to be a qualified and licensed technician to be doing pest control in people's houses and businesses.
Yeah, a couple of interesting points there. So one, good idea. You can't be afraid of bugs because how many of you guys like spiders in the studio and stuff?
No.
Cockroaches, I don't mind too much.
Oh, really?
No, spiders. So I gather that's quite helpful, Ali, that they don't freak you out.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest scare factor is mice. I can't tolerate mice, but all others I'm pretty okay with carrying back home as well.
Mice are so cute, though.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know.
They can be quite, they can be quite cute, but not when they run out at you from under the fridges or dishwashers or couches.
Yeah, you're right. Anything fast sort of gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned something that there's licensing involved in your industry. I thought anyone could just whack one of those tanks on the back of a ute, call himself a pest person, and away you go. So there is actually regulation in your industry?
Yeah, very much so. There's the new animals and pest regulations and acts that govern the industry. So really strict regulations around pesticides, termicides. So there is quite regulated labels that we've got to stick to, and make sure we're carrying out proper endorsed services.
Ali, Malcolm here. Mate, I know when I actually go on site, material data sheets, if you've got carrying any chemicals and things like that, people have to make sure that they're aware. And that, of course, would be similar in your industry as well when it comes to the chemicals that you utilise for your job?
Oh, yeah, very much so. So we are governed pretty much by the product labels. So the labels are the law pretty much, and that's what really governs us, and that's what's endorsed by the regulating authorities and bodies. But further to that, we've got the SDS, which is the safety data sheets. That stipulates exactly everything you need to know about that. And something very recently that's come out into play is the activity risk assessment plan, which must be carried out across high sensitive and high risk environments such as schools, childcare places, animal processing places such as abattoirs. So that's a big new introductions, and technicians must apply that and demonstrate their capacity to carry out the work according to the plan.
Now, Ali, when I think of pests, because I think of spiders, and I normally like getting my place treated for spiders, and it's just normally a spray once a year. What are the things that people should be asking for their places to be treated with if they haven't got a regular pest treatment plan in place? How does someone start a conversation, and what should they be asking for?
Yeah, great question, Coach Nick. I guess the first thing we start off with is an introduction, meet and greet. And the second thing we kind of like to do is do a risk assessment, safety plan. So have a chat to the owners, homeowners, business owners, and go, what are you noticing? What's happening? When did it start? These are some really key questions that help us to diagnose and understand the problem at hand. So that also helps to build rapport with the client as well as establish what we're going in for. So if we just go in blindly and spray every house with any products that we choose, we may not be getting the target species on hand. We may not be addressing the problematic areas, so the kitchen might be the problem as opposed to the bedrooms. So really, Coach Nick, it's about meet and greet, risk assessment, individualized service planning for customers.
I love that, because to me as a tech nerd as well, it's like you're doing an ask campaign, you're finding out what the go is, and then of course you're going down into what does success look like, and then there's obviously the solution, which is the treatment for the pests that the person, why they called you in the first place. So well done on that. Now,
thank you.
Sorry,
I was going to say it's not a one-size-fits-fit approach. Every house is unique and every customer's needs is individualised.
That's so good to hear. As an ex-real estate agent, building and pest inspections are a big thing obviously in that industry. But the amount of times people would just get their general pest done, and they would possibly be in an area where maybe they should have had an annual termite inspection or some sort of barrier put in place, but they're just getting the stock standard, maybe spiders and ants or something done. So it's really good that you do that assessment. That's key.
Are termites still a big thing? I mean, they were a big thing in the past. I don't hear them being talked about much anymore, Ali.
Oh, I think there'll be some real estate agents out there that disagree with you.
What's your experience, Ali, with termites? Are they still around?
To be honest, they all are big concerns. It just depends where you're looking. So, for example, with the COVID, most recent outbreak and pandemics, with the closure of restaurants, we saw significant increases in general pests going out to home areas, which you normally would see in restaurants. For example, rodents, they weren't finding enough food sources and supplies at the back of restaurants, so guess where they were going to? Residential homes. And this was a big problem in Victoria, for example. And the same thing you would see, with ants and cockroaches and all other sort of pests, You most recently with the floods and the significant rainfall, we've had huge call-out with spiders.
Now, Ali, you've said that you're a family business. How have you found working as a family in business? We did a show on this about 3 months ago about whether it's a help or hindrance. How have you found it? Do you work with other family members?
Yeah, so I wish I had a few more children to help me. As a family business, we are very proud of our track record of providing high ethical, professional and affordable services to families in need, because at the end of the day, it's a family service for families. The biggest challenge, Nick, is that, as a growing business, you do have the challenges of catering for your client needs, and that includes staffing. And our biggest challenge over the last 2 years has been finding good, reliable, professional staff that can help us grow and provide good customer service to our clientele.
Yeah, that's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, the great resignation and the move, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, and, don't fear change in the Coach's Corner, but what are you doing to attract staff to your business? Have you come up with anything where you feel like this is the right way to go? Have you got any ideas?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. One is we're providing them a highly ethical and value-based organisation and business to work with, number one. You're supporting a family-based business, number two. And finally, we are offering competitive salaries, vehicles, mobile phones, access to ongoing training, personal development, and plus like chat free lunch. So it doesn't matter whether you like a pie or your favorite meal is a kebab, it's on the house. So your lunch is covered. And we try to be supportive of family needs. So that includes flexible hours, being family friendly to all our staff.
Oh, this is music to my ears. Culture's a massive part of.
Smart.
Yeah, it really is. And
Free
if you can hang on to your staff or attract people by offering a free lunch, all the best to you, I say.
Yeah, Ali, well done. I said to our team, we have to be like the Google of, how Google was held up as the funky workplace, with the different coloured cushions and the free cereal bar and, all that stuff back a few years ago. But it's really about how do we stand out from the other employers. It sounds like, Ali, you're doing the same thing. It's like, well, I'm going to pay for your lunch, and you've actually got back to values and ethics and then sort of really delivering some good substance and then having some perks as well. Like you've covered it all there, mate.
Thank you, Coach. Nick, we are facing a huge challenge, though, and this is a call out to local governments, state governments, federal governments, to help the smaller guys out there that are competing with the bigger companies. So I can't afford to pay, say, for example, we do pay above award wages, but, we can't reach what some other bigger companies can afford to do. Mm-hmm. But we try to be as competitive, and our benefit is that we're a value-based organisation, family-owned, operated, local, and that hopefully entices people to come and work for someone to help us grow along the way.
Yeah, look, you mentioned in there as well, you were talking about work-life balance, and I think certainly in the last 2 years since the pandemic, that's something that everybody's really thinking about. You know, that all of a sudden they were forced into a position where they had to work from home or spend more time at home, and they probably realised that they don't spend enough time there when everything is back to normal. So having that workplace flexibility that you mentioned so that they can have that work-life balance and not miss those special occasions, you know, sports days and awards for their children is a really important one. So I really like that as well.
Thank you, Kerry. Look, one thing I'd like to mention on that, you know, we've got a staff member who's a single parent, and he has to go and pick up the kids, and we've made the adjustment and the flexibility for him to take the 5-seater car so he can pick him up, drop him to the carer's house and go back to the last job of the day. You know, that's something that we've done to make sure that, you know, we're catering out to our staff needs and looking out for their mental health well-being, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, fantastic, because a happy staff member is a productive staff member, that's for sure.
So good. Ali, tough question. All the costs are going up in business, right? Cost inputs just keep going up everywhere you look. What's your approach on pricing? You sort of touched on earlier that you can't afford to pay the higher rates that the big boys can, which sort of is telling me that you actually have a ceiling where you won't be prepared to charge more than X for a service because you're about providing your client with value. Have I got that right?
Yeah, most definitely. So we won't compromise on, what do you call it, like good quality service. We're not going to compromise on that. Yeah. And the second thing we're not going to compromise on is making sure that, you know, customers not getting the best service possible. Mm-hmm. So that's our big number ones. The biggest cost factors for us at the moment is obviously things like fuel, increasing cost of products, increasing costs of just general labour. So we used to pay staff about $30, $35 an hour. That's gone up to $38 an hour. So the material cost of labour, the cost of the products, and obviously fuel and all those other things have added huge burdens on the business.
Yeah, look, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Because it's sometimes it's a double whammy. You're getting that you got the fuel costs when you're driving your own cars around, etc., to be able to go and do what you need to do. But then the actual product that you're buying is going up because of the costs that are involved in actually distributing that out. So you're getting the fuel costs in your things that your product that you're actually using as well. So it's difficult times.
How do you combat that, Ali? Do you try and do you try and group where the jobs are so you're not driving from point A to point F back to point B and then down to point D? Like, do you try and get better yield by looking at groupings and suburb clusters?
Yeah, we try to do that as much as possible, but unfortunately we've got a huge challenge on our hand where not every client is available at the times we wish they were. So we cater for a number of diverse client groups, so single parents and that young families. They wish to get their treatments done, you know, when the kids are at school, for example. Elderly folks that we cater for and offer really good services to, as well as intensives. They'd like to get their services early in the morning to have the rest of the afternoon off and listen to 101 FM, I'm sure. And then we get the, working families that like to have the treatments done over the weekend or later on in the afternoons when they're back home, sort of thing. So it's a big challenge and a balanced act of making sure you're fitting in jobs in the right areas and the right times and factoring in transport, traffic and other factors as well.
Of course, we're talking with Ali Ghafoor. He runs AMG Pest Management, and he's dealing with all the things we've been talking about on the show, as business owners do: rising cost inputs, how to create value and keep value for the client, and how to keep the service level up whilst also juggling different client requirements. Ali, it's a never-ending job, isn't it? It's sometimes incredibly tough, but you sound like you're finding a way through. You sound like you're finding a way to attract and keep your staff, and we wish you good luck in the future and just keep going at it. Keep doing well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and wishing all the listeners all the best, and thank you all.
And that was Ali Ghafoor from AMG Pest Management. So if you're in the market for a pest manager, look him up because he comes highly recommended also by Councillor Teresa